Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to show you something that I figured out the other night when I was editing a video. And so one of the big problems with the GoPro is it doesn't work great in low light conditions, right? So I've never really recorded any e-biking videos where I'm riding at night because you end up with footage that looks like this, where you can see on the screen right now I've got a video loaded into Final Cut Pro that I recorded at night with my GoPro, and I'm riding around and it's almost like completely black, and you can see some lights and like the display on my e-bike, but you can't see much of anything. Like the whole screen is just entirely black. So that doesn't make for a great viewing experience, right? And so I just never really recorded at night, and I always thought, well, GoPro can't record at night. It just doesn't work in low light conditions. And if you go around the internet, you'll see some people that they'll share low light settings for recording on your GoPro. And I've got those settings loaded into my GoPro. I think I went to Danny Black's YouTube or somebody like that, and I took their low light settings that they recommend, and then I kind of did my own settings based on those. So what I've found is even when you use the low light settings that people recommend for the GoPro, it's still you still end up with something like this, right? And it looks a little bit better if you have a light on your bike. See, like right here, like you can see a little bit, but can't see a whole lot. But so how do we fix this? So the first thing is you do want to use some kind of low light settings. So here are the ones that I use right on my screen right now. So you can, if you want to create a setting in your GoPro for low light, this is what I used for this example. I always use 4K 30 just because the GoPro overheats if you do anything else. Some people recommend that you turn off the hyper smooth when it's in a low light situation, but from my experience, if you turn off hyper smooth and you're riding a bike, the footage is just like it's unwatchable. Like it would make me sick to watch that. So I leave the hyper smooth on, just like when I shoot during the day. I've got the hyper smooth on because we're riding a bike and it's really bumpy. So if we keep going here, I've got 10-bit color turned on. I've got a GoPro Hero 11, so it's got the 10-bit color, and I think if you're shooting at night, the 10-bit color is always going to help, so you're going to want that on. I've got the high bit rate, and then so these are the low light settings that you might find other people recommend. So I've got the shutter speed set, the ISO min, the ISO max, the white balance, the sharpness. I'm using flat color. So those are kind of the low light settings for GoPro recording right there. And then that's about it, right? It's just those settings right there. So I've got that saved as a preset on my GoPro, and that's what I use to record this video. If you want to make your own GoPro preset and try something like this out. But the main thing that you got to do to be able to make this happen is you got to have some kind of video editing software where you can do some color grading and color corrections, because there's a lot of colors in this video, but just by default, the way that GoPro kind of records it, it's all showing up as black. So how do we fix this? So this is going to be Final Cut Pro specific, right? Because I use Final Cut Pro to edit my videos. You might use something else. But basically, you got to go into your video editing software and do a color correction on the clips that are too dark. And let's get to a point in the clip where it's hard to see. All right, so we're right here. As you can see, like it looks very dark. You can kind of see a little bit of light from my bike light, and there's some other lighting in the scene, but you can't see anything else. It's completely black. So how do we fix this? I've got that clip selected. I'm gonna go over here in my inspector. That's right here. You in Final Cut Pro, you click this little guy to bring the inspector out. And then I'm going to click here at this little triangle to show the color inspector. Okay, so this is where the magic happens. So I've clicked, so there's color, saturation, and then exposure, right? And so we want to play with the exposure. and there's a global slider that just adjusts all of the exposure. That's not really what we want. We want to go over to here to the highlights, and we're going to adjust the exposure for the highlights. So let's click that, and then we'll drag it up. As you can see, like, it brings out the highlights in the scene. So I like to kind of bring that up quite a bit, so to bring those highlights out. And then the main thing is we want to adjust the midtones, adjust the exposure for the midtones. So now we're bringing out all of those colors that are in between black and white. And so we can kind of adjust the midtones. And then depending on, you might want to scrub around a little bit in your video to different parts and just kind of play around with things until you get the look that you want. I might bring the highlights all the way up because it's so dark, and then I can just play with these midtones until we have something that is somewhat viewable. And so what I usually do is, when you make this color correction change, Final Cut Pro will start a background render that kind of like makes everything slow in Final Cut Pro. I guess depending on your computer. I'm on a laptop. But so I kind of just scrub around to a few parts in the video and kind of see how things look, and then I'll come and maybe adjust it a little bit so that the midtones aren't totally blown out. We can adjust. It's really just, you want to bring the highlights up quite a bit, and then it's the midtones that you want to play around with until you get the look that you're looking for. And so then once you do that, it should look a little bit better, and you should be able to at least see, you know, some things, right? Because like if we look at this right here, like I'm at an intersection, but if I turn off these color corrections, you can't see anything, right? Like it looks completely dark. And then we apply the color corrections, and you can actually see something, and it might be worth riding around a bike in the dark and recording it if you can actually see something. So I thought I would just share this tip with you guys because I've struggled with this for a long time. I would just never record rides at night because it's so dark, and I always thought that the GoPro was just incapable of recording anything at night. But as long as you set your GoPro up with some nighttime settings, and you've got some video editing software where you can apply some color corrections, you should be able to adjust the exposure for the highlights and especially those midtones. And then you should be able to bring some of that color and that light back into the video and come up with some decent night riding videos for your viewers on YouTube to enjoy. So, if you like this tip and you like e-biking videos and e-biking videos at night, make sure that you like this video. Yeah, I hope it helps you out. Thanks for watching.